Gaikoku Gamers.
Bite-sized.
Welcome to Gaikoku Gamers. I'm Darryl Benson, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about HDifying your Nintendo 64. Now, I do realize that I've gone ahead and made a video kind of like this before. I was referring to it. I was getting there, but I hadn't completed and tested it and made everything work. And now I have. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. Okay, so first off, we have the Nintendo 64. Now you're probably realizing that this looks a little different than probably the one on your shelf. It's different in several different ways. So let's take out the cartridge. First off, inside this is a Japanese limited edition, similar to the Fantastic colors that we had here in the States, except they had clear white on the bottom of their colors. Unlike in the Americas, where it just had one color on both the top and the bottom. Another thing that you're going to realize too is typically this thing only plays Japanese cards. Now the internals of this, it's an American system, so I took the shell from this, put an American system inside this shell, and now I have a Japanese system inside the black American system, right? Kept following so far? Okay, it's not too hard. That American system that I put in here has been modified to go ahead and output an RGB signal. Now, you're probably asking what an RGB signal is, or SCART, if you're from the States, because you probably are unfamiliar with this format. This is a format that was really popular in Europe and did not exist here in the States. So if you're not familiar with SCART, don't worry about it. But the cool thing is not only does it output at high resolution, not only are the colors better, but something that you might not have known, this system actually outputs that resolution natively. Yes, you see, composite and lower forms of video out, there we go, were really popular in the mid-90s, and while this thing had the power by itself to produce a really beautiful signal, 99.99% of the people have not experienced that in this system. So the cool thing is that basically the modification is quite simple. It's a little chip, you solder it, and basically it just outputs what the video card wants to put out to a SCART signal. There you go. There's no emulation, there's no trickery involved. This thing is pushing out a really good solid signal. Now, as you can tell, this casing is just beautiful. I think there's like a scratch on it, and I just love it. Now, the other thing too is the guy who modified it for me went ahead and modified the light to be blue, which is really cool on this system because the whole front just lights up blue since it's a clear blue model. Aqua blue, I guess I should say, as it was known in Japan. Even the feet are like clear black. It's kind of cool. I like it. I've actually owned one of these before, an unmodified system, but yeah, that's amazing. Now, when you look in here, you're going to notice a color that doesn't belong, which is red. This is a 3D printed tray. And what's really cool about that is without having to get out a Dremel and permanently destroy your system, I've been able to go ahead and effectively have a region-free system with just two screws popped out right here and right here. So right here and right here, pop it out, re-screw in that red piece, and you're good to go. In fact, you can actually see it from the back. Let me see if I can't show it to you there. 3D printed tray, no tabs. Now, what's interesting about this is I've noticed that for whatever reason, I don't know why, because the height shouldn't be any different, but if you go ahead and Dremel off the tab, sometimes the systems have trouble reading the cartridge, and you'll have to kind of lift it up just a smidge, in order for it to read. I do not have that problem with this 3D printed tray. Now I'm going to go ahead and check my web page here so I can tell you who this is. And who is it? Okay, if you go to Atari Age, Atari Age are a bunch of forums for not just Ataris, but all sorts of good, honest to good gaming anything. So any system, any game, arcades, you name it, these guys talk about it. It's a really fantastic forum, a very mature forum. So if you're looking for a place to go, check there. Now, if you go to AtariAge.com and go into the forum section, there's a guy named Cassidy Nolan. That's Cassidy Nolan. Now, if you contact him, he will more than happily print one of these off for like, I think it was like 10 bucks shipped. Basically, it's a phenomenal deal. Now, I know, again, it's not necessary, but a nice little mod. Now, once you get that all squared away, you get all this stuff installed, which really is not that hard. You do not have to unscrew all the screws. You, obviously, after you get the ones with the security bits on the bottom done, you have to go ahead and do the ones over the video and the power ports. You have to go ahead and do the ones on, you know, obviously on either side of the cartridge, but that's just to get this tray out. You have to get these two little ones that are like here and here, a couple ones here, and like the 6 on the side. All the one, where am I? There we go. All the ones here in the middle are just holding on the heatsink. You do not want to remove that. So just a change of shell, those are the ones that you have to remove. Now, once you get all that squared away, once you have an RGB modded system, which you can find those anywhere really, you will notice a couple things. Number one, it still outputs through the main port, which is really nice. There's no drilled added port, nothing like that. And what's also great is that it also still outputs in the standard composite signal. So for whatever reason you don't have access to a SCART RGB connection, there you go. Now this is where it starts getting a little tricky. Obviously on American TVs we do not have a SCART plugin for our TVs. It just didn't exist out here, and most people don't have that plugin. It's a big old chunky cord, it's about that big. So you're probably wondering which one to get for this. Now there's C-Sync and there's non-C-Sync. You want to get the non-C-Sync one. Now if you're confused, it's the one that is exactly like the Nintendo brand one that was released way back in the day. So if you get some C-Sync one that's not right, it will literally produce nothing on the TV signal. Now, as great as this is, it comes out the multi-video port right here and turns into a SCART connection, which you still can't connect to the television. So what do you need to do now? Now you need to buy one of these. These cost about $44. They're on eBay, 44 bucks shipped. Now, the first thing I will say is this is your standard typical fare Chinese component. Now before you start getting the wrong idea, this is also one of the only standard typical Chinese components that you can find on eBay for cheap that's actually any good. And I really do mean that. This thing rivals units that cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Fantastic deal. Buy one. It works on any system that you can go ahead and throw a SCART connection to. That includes Saturn, and N64, Genesis, you name it. So what you do is you plug in the AC right here. You plug in from your multi-video out your SCART cable from your N64 into this. Now, not this one. Okay, that's you're not going to use that. On the other side, plug in an HDMI cord here and to your TV. Now you have some settings buttons here. You have things like turning SCART on and off, and you have different resolutions and hertz. But once you get that squared away, and it'll display that, even if there's no system on, it'll display that on your television. Well, actually, if there is no system on, it'll display that on your television. Because this box is on. It'll display a black screen with some lettering on the bottom left. And the bottom left will tell you the resolution, the hertz, all that type of stuff. Set it to 60 hertz. 50 hertz is European. Set it to 60 hertz and set it to 1080p. And then you're done. and you will have never seen a Nintendo 64 so clear. Now, this thing is not an emulator, and I will repeat that. It is not going to make your polygons razor sharp. But what it does do is that it makes things not blurry anymore. The Nintendo 64 had this problem where if it had a rough edge, it would just go and everything would just be soft, smeared. And on an HD television, it almost gives you a headache. Everything on the screen is just soft and smeared, and you can't tell what the fuck is going on. Lettering is also really hard to read, and it's just a giant mess. With this, now around lettering and stuff, you're going to get some bumps, you know, some jaggies, I guess you would say. It's from the low resolution image. However, it's going to be razor sharp, and trust me, it's just one of those things where it's just going to look infinitely better. The first game I played was Wave Race 64. And let me tell you, never seen it look this good. There are colors that I've never seen displayed like this before, not even emulated. And this is not emulated. This is like perfect, straight up. This is what it was supposed to look like. So that means that when these people were making these games, this is what they had in mind when they made this game. Were these colors displaying this way on the 64 using this cable and basically this box. It's fantastic. It is the only way to play the N64 unless you have a tube-style TV. Now, I will say I do have a tube-style TV. I have my broadcast monitor, which is over there, right there. This way, there it is. And the broadcast monitor is great, but it's also this big, and it gets really annoying to try to play on a TV screen that's that big. And let's face it. A tube-style TV that's any big enough to enjoy playing on is just way too big. And furthermore, this looks better. So try it out. Make sure you get your expansion pack, just like in here. Make sure you get that guy. You don't necessarily have to get the region-free tab that I have. I like playing a lot of imports. I didn't want to destroy my tray, so I like that. Modification. You obviously don't need to change the shell of your 64 if you're fine with the standard American black one. But you do need to get the right SCART cable, and just make sure you get the Nintendo brand or a non-C-Sync SCART Nintendo cable. Once you get that, get this HD video converter that will transmit your signal convert your signal and upconvert your signal from SCART to HDMI. Now, what's also great about this as well, it is technically HDMI, but it's not going to make it look like it, it's a Wii U or anything, of course. But the great thing about it transmitting into a 1080i or 1080p signal is that if you have a capture card, most newer capture cards just simply won't capture anything less than that resolution. So despite the fact that this is really still outputting an image of like 4 whatever 80i or whatever the hell this thing puts out, any device that's going to record this thing thinks it's a 1080p signal, and that's fantastic. So this basically makes a Nintendo 64 very welcome in your modern day gaming cabinet, and this can sit proudly right next to your Wii U and your GameCube with your component cables over there and everything else I have listed over there. And it can run toe-to-toe with every single one of them and look fantastic on your TV. And let me tell you, the N64 has probably one of the best gaming libraries of all time. Not the largest, but the most enjoyable gaming libraries of all time. And it would be a shame for you not to have a Nintendo 64 in your collection simply because it doesn't look good displaying on that television. So, that being said, this has been a bite-sized episode. I am Darryl Benson, and I'll see you next time. Please go ahead, remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate the subscriptions, and we really hope that you check in every single day as we have content every single day, and let us know what you think. Till then, I'm Darryl Benson. We'll see you next time.